I've got two announcements to make very quickly. Welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this morning. This is our live podcast every weekday morning, 7 a.m. For the people of Niagara. So this is Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Welcome to the week. Hey, we're going to cover a number of stories today, but got a quick one for you that needs to be covered today before we go anything else. So one of our friends of the show, Mike Cushman, as people know, he makes canes. Well, he's actually sent me a message that says he every November 11th he donates a cane on Remembrance Day to somebody who's served, and he wants to know if anybody knows of a veteran who needs a cane, and he would be happy to give him or her a cane of their choice. And he's got 35 canes right now that they can choose from. So let him know. It would be an honor to give them a cane, says Mike Cushman.
Well, I don't know a vet, but he can give me a cane and I'll hold on to it until I find one.
Do you need one?
I need some sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the sometimes. I don't feel I need a cane. I don't feel I need a cane. He offered me one at a good price, actually, a while back. And, that was, I enjoyed seeing the canes. He's got some interesting canes around there.
Yeah, he's got one. He's got some with the good knob on the end that I could use club people I don't like. I'd be that nasty old man, swinging it at both you teenagers. Oh, well, look at what I got, though. Look at this.
What's this?
Did you read it?
Warning. Something start. Read it to us. May start talking about science. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Gary Wilkins got that for me. Him and I went through the old power station and did it. Just walked around there and went down the old sleuth right down to the base of the falls. Kind of. It was really remarkable. I'll be going there again. So
you've been there before, haven't you?
I have been when it was running.
I thought you had been there once it was a display.
No, I haven't. That was the first time. But I'd been there. I was able to get the engineers tour, which is the premier tour. They used to give tours back in the day if you organized them, and they give you a nice little tour and stuff like that. But I got the engineers tour, which was I was able to jump on that one. And they and I watched the thing running as they took us down the elevator. You could see the big shafts running and so on. It was quite remarkable.
Yeah. Okay. So hurricane hit Jamaican towns are desperately waiting for aid to come. Oh, I've got four. Got morning, Karen Fraser. Hang on.
Hello, Karen.
Yeah. Good morning from Betty. Still have the building outside. Still have the building outside of my cell. Okay. Don't know what that means. Okay, and morning from Mike Cushman. So there you go. If you know a veteran who needs a walking stick, go speak to, let them know about Mike, and he can talk to them. Okay. All right. So, hurricane hit Jamaican towns are desperately waiting for aid. And this always occurs to me that what happens with any aid situations, whether it's a flood or a hurricane, it seems to be the same situation, that the big places, big towns get the aid, but the small towns are often left waiting.
Yeah, well, I was in Jamaica once, and I got someone to tour in sort of more in the inside of the island rather than away from the tourist areas and stuff like that. And I can see how that happened. There's isolated communities. There's lots of highlands in the middle. So they can be separated. Right now, the government in Jamaica's biggest priority is clearing the way, trying to get access, availability to areas. The hurricane damage that I saw, the hurricane damage I saw in Florida a few years ago, and it was nowhere near the strength of this one. Made such a mess. Like, I was there the day they opened the roads in Key West. So the day I got there, they opened the roads, and of course you could see they had just finished opening the roads. There was down power lines, there was wreckage of all kinds, junk and all kinds of stuff. Quite a mess. I can't imagine what it's like in Jamaica, which is a developing country. In the U.S. is a developed country, and it had its trouble cleaning up the mess.
Yeah.
Of a much weaker hurricane.
I think what it is these smaller towns, of course, what happens, they send out a truck. Oh, better send out a truck for these cities, towns here. And what happens is there's then trees or rocks or boulders or, something blocking the road, which makes it impossible for those trucks to get going.
Well, yeah, that's the whole idea. Right now, the government's trying to open up the roads and stuff. And sometimes those roads, if you go up away from the tourist areas, the main areas, the roads sometimes are not in the greatest of shape.
And sometimes hurricanes rip those roads that are in bad shape apart.
Yeah, sometimes they're washed right out. So I messaged a friend of mine in Jamaica, and she said she was okay. They didn't get the worst of it, but I guess Montego Bay really got hit and down that way. So it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while before the people of Jamaica get what they need. But it's not that the world is unwilling to give. It's just getting it to them.
Yeah, what they're basically talking about is two parishes. They're talking about two parishes, Westmoreland Parish and St. Elizabeth, and they're basically saying that 90% of homes have been destroyed there.
Yeah, they've just been taken right out of the picture. So it's
I know some of these.
I don't know, it's not a good thing, but I think I think 28 people died or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. They know at least 28 people have died right now. One of these pictures, there's a guy sitting on his porch, and the veranda is kind of leaving the porch and heading down the road, if you know what I mean. So it's not attached.
So one of the images I saw was there was a well-built roof with special tiles on it, probably meant to withstand hurricanes. It had like metal tiles on it, like overlap, very solid.
Yeah.
But the hurricane came along and just ripped the whole roof off, tiles and everything. The whole roof as one big section just lifted right off the house.
Yeah.
And
the tiles work, but it just
Yeah, so the wind somehow got underneath it and just ripped it right off the building.
Yeah.
So they have trouble with power, of course. They have power. I was surprised I got through with internet, but my friends said they had power outages and things of that kind. So it looks as if I don't know, the world's going to be willing to jump in there and do what they can, but the biggest thing they can do right now is bring in heavy equipment and help them clear the way to get to people.
Yeah. And here's the thing, what's going to happen is a lot of people I'm guessing are going to camp on or around their own home, so it's like, oh yeah, well, that's my home, but I'll sit in my living room and look up at the sky. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the damage must be incredible. It is a developing country, the Jamaica. They have a pretty good middle class going on there. They're moving along in the right direction. They got a
Well, everything's
pretty
got
good.
to be rebuilt right now, hasn't it?
That's the thing. Yeah. So it's going to take a fair amount of aid money, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, whoever it is that comes up with coin for this kind of thing. I don't know how badly Cuba got hurt. The storm, after it ripped through Jamaica, it went up through into Cuba. We don't hear much about that, but when it hit Cuba, it was a Category 4 storm, and it brought a lot of water with it. So the water damage is going to be probably the thing that Cuba hurts. Like it hit the eastern part of Cuba, then went off to the Bahamas, and you don't hear much about the Bahamas. A few years ago, you heard about the Bahamas getting completely wiped, really damaged by a previous hurricane. Now, this whole idea of climate change comes into this because the weather, the water temperature was 2 degrees more than it normally is, and of course, the warmer the water, the bigger the hurricanes.
Yeah, the surprising thing is about this one, it's a more southerly route, and I expected it would head into the Gulf of Mexico, possibly Mexico, Texas, or somewhere like that. But it never did. It just suddenly changed direction.
It followed its course, like through Jamaica, Cuba, through, and then took off. And as I said earlier, it wasn't going to go to the United States because it would get charged a tariff.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that tragedy. And as I said, I've got friends down there, and they or Kiwanian friends anyway down there, and the one I did contact say that they weathered the storm rather well. They were closer to Kingston, but she told me that Mobe got really hit bad, and that's one of the tourist sections. So they want to get that all fixed up and ready to go because wintertime's coming, and the tourists will be on their way.
Well, that'll bring a lot of money, and the sooner they get back to normality, the better.
Well, they want all their anything that's not functioning, the power and all that. They want to get that all fixed up quick because tourism is a big deal when it comes to the economy of the island. And if you got Montego Bay hit, that's one of the prime areas of Jamaican tourism. And I was there once for Kiwanis convention. Nice little town, Montego Bay. Nice city. So you don't want to mess with that now. You want to get that up and going so the tourists get someplace to go.
I should come and join to go to all these lovely conventions you go to.
Yeah.
Joking. I know that you guys do.
That's what I like.
Jobs you do.
Yeah.
And of course the Kiwanians and any service club that's operating in that district will probably be hard at work right now, won't they? Doing what they can to help clear up, and also, probably putting their money to emergency, things.
Yeah, well, definitely. When the Bahamas got kicked in, we as Kiwanians try to gather up money and send it to them. But we can't take the money from here and send it. It'd have to be Kiwanis money that we have as Kiwanians individually collected and sent. We cannot, and internationally, like we can do that. We cannot take, like, for instance, our bingo fund. We can't take any money out of that. That is all for local. Yeah. Like anything we collect, we have to use it locally. So there's none of our money going down there. It would be like individuals like me or others would sort of get together and send money where we think we need it, where they need it. We did that with Bahamas.
Yeah. All right.
And they got.
Okay. So moving on, Niagara Region's proposed purpose-built rental housing incentive is to provide affordable options. And what they're looking at is essentially, I suppose, money to help renters. Not sure how this is going to work, really.
Well, they're looking for development incentives, basically, and of course the beginning of the title is "How are Niagara residents going to pay the rent?" ?
Yeah.
So the angst here is do the public governments like the Niagara Region kick in money? Well, they already have incentive programs, but they want a new incentive program that developers could ultimately benefit in the long term for the interest of everybody. Now, there's a quote here. There's a scare. Well, I mean, there is a lack of affordable rents in Niagara, and what is happening basically is a shift from people of moderate incomes are now moving into what typically would be lower income rental areas, because they cannot afford the rents that were normally for the moderate people. So what is this doing? It is putting a lot of pressure on lower income people, and the renters are understanding that and trying to vacate people who are paying lower rents that have been paying them for years. Now the renters can see that they can get more money if they can get their renters out, the low income renters out. And I'll tell you a little bit of a story. When we were discussing our nonprofits, it was discussed that there was an apartment building for sale, and that we could buy that and convert that apartment building into nonprofit.
Yeah.
But the problem was, and we had people in the region in the room with us at the time. This is, well, we got to remember this, that is already happening. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be pushing moderate income people out to make room for affordable. And those moderate people who have already got an apartment, if you incentivize them to leave, will only go and take low rent places some other place.
Yeah.
And that will defeat the purpose.
Well, I would say that if you were to buy an apartment building, and obviously you've got pre-existing renters, that if you were to do it properly, you would make sure that any new renters were those that needed affordable housing, and you'd keep the cost down.
Yes, we could. Like, for instance, you could keep costs down once, but that's the problem. You have moderate income people in an apartment building, and you then want to bring it to affordable. So even if you don't displace the people out of there first, and when a rental unit comes available, then you give it to an affordable person. Well, what that does is incentivize the people, might be incentivized to leave there and pick up lower income housing somewhere else, and take that housing away. It's a vicious cycle. What you do not want to do, basically, if you have moderate income people and they're well established in an apartment building, what you don't want to do is disrupt that, because you don't want to replace one with the other.
Yeah,
basically. Because the very idea that there's not enough in the first place. Yeah. You have to have 50. The average rent in the Niagara region is $1,400. That's for a single room, and the amount of income required to sustain that is $57,000. So you're looking at the low end there of. And what you don't want to do is take those units away out of the circulation already. What's happening, of course, is the reason why we don't have enough available units is because builders in that there isn't enough available units at that range. Developers, of course, are incentivized to satisfy a higher end market, and so they're not interested really in building affordable housing. And when you have a dearth of rental units, we have not enough rental units in our area. What that then does is incentivize the landlords to push the prices up because of the availability. They can get more.
But the prices in the Niagara region are coming down slowly.
Not fast enough. Not fast enough, and the availability is still not there.
Yeah, I know.
And so that is the main purpose. And businesses are the ones that are calling for something to be done. And that was a bit of a surprise for me. It says here that that local businesses find that that's becoming a strain on them. And if I could find the quote, go ahead and talk, and I'll look for the quote.
Well, I was going to put up some of these messages that I missed out from before. How is Cuba? Are they okay? We don't know. We've not had any news reports of Cuba, and it was hit hard by the storm Melissa, right? And Betty's saying keep busy, right? Okay. Just mixed up bad sell today. Sorry. Okay. That's what that was related to earlier on. Cashing the drug monies. I said, why? Donations to communities, small cities. Okay. Right now, live comfortably is not going to happen.
Yeah. Anyway, it says here, 10 or 15 years ago, economic development strategies barely mentioned affordable or attainable rental housing. Yeah. Now it's a top issue, and we hear from the businesses considering investment and job creation. So businesses out there are concerned about the availability of moderate and attainable housing, because how are they going to expand if they have certain target markets and whatever else are not going to be there?
Yeah,
they're going to also need a workforce, and if the workforce can't afford it, where are the workforce going to live? Now, a couple years ago, I made out I said, look, because there isn't enough affordable places for people to live around here, we're going to get a lot of the government's going to be incentivized to bring in a lot of foreign workers to fill a gap. And that's exactly what happened after COVID, probably for different reasons, but they brought them in willy-nilly. And of course, that became a big political problem and very irksome for local people, where foreign workers were brought in and took the jobs of the local people. And you could argue that the local folk who normally would take those jobs didn't have places to live, and there wasn't enough of them available for for employers. So there's a lot to be said about this.
But
now the big problem with the councilors is they're okay with us incentivizing programs like this, but where are they going to get the money? Are they going to have to lean on the levy?
Yeah. And one of the things about this, of course, is you were mentioning about employers wanting to ensure that their people have got homes to live in. And yeah, right. However, often employers like Walmart are part of the problem. You know, they will only pay minimum wage. Even store managers get only $1 or $2 above minimum wage. You know, so there are sometimes employers are the problem.
Possibly, yeah. You can always do that, but when you say the top issue we hear from business considering investment and job creation is the affordability of rental housing, I was surprised by that.
Yeah,
I was surprised.
Well, I'm not surprised by it, but the thing is that there are some some businesses like Walmart that grossly underpay their staff.
So if you're excuse me. Oh boy. So if they're worried about if businesses are withholding investment because and job creation is because they're not assured there will be a workforce for them, affordable housing for the workforce. I mean, that stifles the economy of the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is a double-edged sword if you look at it. So the region does not want to put out any more money that levies or goes against the levy. That, I mean, leans on the taxpayer basically. But on the other hand, you're stifling new investment if you do not find ways and means of providing housing for potential workers and potential customers.
Yeah.
So when a business comes in and says they're going to do some investment and looks at the housing market and says, we may not have a workforce here, or we may not have a customer base because there isn't enough affordable housing to sustain our market and our employees.
Yeah.
What you don't want to get stuck with investing in a business and not having enough employees or having enough of a market.
Yeah. All right. And that's a big problem because, in fact, the whole issue about what people are paid versus the housing availability, etc., all has an impact on the local economy. It's a vicious circle that we're going into here.
Yeah, so the region is stuck with the incentivizing of actually funding programs like that, which would incentivize more attainable housing, basically affordable and attainable housing in an area where we have one of the lowest per capita incomes in Ontario, for Southern Ontario anyway. Northern Ontario might be a different story, but it is, and particularly when we have a dodgy economy in this area anyway. We our mainstay is tourism, but other things are always seem to be in limbo, or like we were talking about the other day. At one time, Niagara Region had the same unemployment rate as Newfoundland, and so our unemployment rate is a little bit higher. Housing, our average income's a little bit lower. But of course, developers just want to appeal to the higher end income groups. They get better equity. Like, it's hard to talk to them and say, you want lower equity out of your building? No, they don't. So there has to be some sort of incentivized programs to do that. Now, the region themselves are not going to do in the building, but they're going to incentivize that kind of thing. It's a problem that we find everywhere, but in Niagara, where I believe the lower wages and stuff like that are more pronounced. The tourist industry doesn't pay a whole lot. You still need places for people to live.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just so everybody's aware, tomorrow I'm in Toronto tomorrow. I can't do a show tomorrow.
Okay. No show on Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Carney advised Doug Ford against the anti-tariff ad that he took out for the World Series.
Yeah, so it becomes clear now. I was wondering about what was behind the scenes here, because Ford said, "Oh, he showed it to Carney," and he did. But apparently Carney, what he didn't say was Carney said, "I don't know about that. Don't do that. We're right in the middle of some negotiations." But Ford did it anyway. I kind of like the fact that Ford did it. Like, I'm not so sure if it was a good idea. It sure looked good to me at the time. It it did open a lot of people's eyes in the United States about what was happening with the tariff thing, because my friends in the U.S. said they haven't got a real clue of what's going on at all. The American TV networks and stuff like that are so one way or the other. People don't many pay attention to them, but this Ford believes this woke up a lot of Americans to it, and he's right in a way, because it got 11.5 billion views. If it got 11.5 billion views, it has had an effect. Obviously, Canada itself couldn't have put up anything like that, but it went worldwide, got 11.5 billion views. Now, it might be good cop, bad cop kind of thing. Carney says, okay, if you put that up there, I can't support it, and I'll have to say so. But in the meantime, he hasn't said so until he met Trump and said, oh, sorry about that. Big mistake. And I don't know. I don't think Carney might have thought it was that big of a mistake, when in the long run, if it incentivizes the Americans to take a closer look at what's going on. Because according to a friend or two I have in the States, they're completely clueless, and they have not nearly as much awareness of what's going on as we do up here, because it's affecting our economy bad. And and you get actually, one of my friends says that there is she lives in Magaville, basically, and they have no idea what's going on. And there's a lot of there's a lot of turn towards religion now. People are starting to find religion down there now. I guess it must be the effects of Charlie Kirk, or I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But MAGA and sort of a return to religion seems to be hand in hand. So they're not paying attention to the economics of it, as we are biting our nails every day when we look at tariffs and things like that will affect us. But in any case, if Ford's purpose was to make the Americans more aware of what's going on, he accomplished that.
Yeah. So how many people viewed the ad is interesting, because because obviously I don't think I've seen the ad. What I went to do is I went to go and see the Reagan speech.
Yeah, it's very clear that he was a free trader. Really was.
Well, I listened to that speech in full, because it changed my mind on some of the things, some of my views about Reagan.
Yeah, no, Reagan was a free trader, more or less. He did have he did give big tax relief to the rich, caused he increased the national debt. It has never come down since Reagan began. It did under Clinton. Clinton managed to rein in the spending, but that quickly reversed, basically, because we are addicted to debt in the West. That's the bane of our existence. But what he did do was look for free trade opportunities everywhere. And of course, he was a Republican, and felt that government interference in commerce should be limited, and the best competition was a free trade approach. But of course, he came in before China was even a thing. China was just beginning to get out of the dark ages, so to speak, and begin to industrialize. I don't think, if he was alive today, I think he would have seen the problems with American investment in China. American investment in China funded the Chinese rise. The Chinese would not be anywhere near where they are now if it hadn't been for wholesale Western investment, where our companies here are looking for bigger and bigger, faster profits.
Well, the irony of
our jobs over there.
The irony, of course, is that it was during the Reagan era that, in fact, actually Reagan, I believe, was one of those that supported the use of the development of the Chinese market.
Yeah. Basically, in the beginning, they felt that if the Chinese became more capitalist, they would then begin to lean more democratic.
Yeah.
And that may have been happening a bit when I was there in 2007. Basically, the Chinese.
That's the run up to the Olympics, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. I saw the nearly completed Olympic stadium there, what they call the bird's nest. So anyway, I saw a lot of stuff, but at that time they were speaking more liberally. It looked like they're going to become more liberalized. But when Xi Jinping solidified power, he tightened everything back up. Censorship was back up. He took control for 10 years and it looked like he was going to be the dictator of life for life. Before that, the presidents had term limits. When Xi came in, no more term limits. I'm the guy. And so that showed you where the mistakes were being made when they freely traded and gave China as much liberal access as possible. Obama even said that the businesses were being concerned during his time, that the business were being concerned in China, were being concerned about what China was doing, stealing their, taking their technology and that. But at the same time, when he says, "What do you want me to do about it?" He says, "Nothing, nothing." They didn't want him to do anything about it because they were still making massive amounts of money.
Yeah, yeah.
They could see it was coming down the pike, but they didn't want it. They're interrupted at that time because they were making money.
Yeah, absolutely. And the point being is, what started with the Americans moving over, Americans and others moving over production to China to actually save money and make more profit, ended up with the Chinese understanding how those products were made and making their own.
Oh, sure. They ripped off Westinghouse for nuclear reactors. Westinghouse was supposed to build 27 of them. They built 4, and under the condition that the Chinese knew everything about it, so that they could maintain them. And once Westinghouse built 4, all of a sudden China canceled the contract. You find that it's constantly going everywhere. If somebody goes over there to make something, they want to make a widget or a pen. Let's say they want to make a pen, and you got a really cool pen that everybody likes because it's special. You go over there to build it. Next thing you know, you've got 4 Chinese companies making the same pen for cheaper and stealing your market.
Yeah. And in fact, it's like you put the pen out there because you wanted to actually get that pen to market cheaper in order that you can help your people. But now, of course, you've got a Chinese competitor. 5 years later, you've got a Chinese competitor that's making it way cheaper than you did.
That is supported by the Chinese government and can find funding for it, no problem.
Yeah.
Go to the Chinese government, say, look, they want me to build this pen. Give me some money and I'll build it. And we'll build them their pen for 5 years. After that, when the contract's done, we'll saturate the market with our pen. It's exactly the same.
Yeah. And it's the same sort of thing with computers and high-tech gear, because I had a computer that was supposed to have been, it was a Sony computer. It was supposed to be made with all Sony parts. And the hard drive in it was a Toshiba hard drive.
Yeah. Well, that really doesn't matter much, does it? You know what I mean?
No, it doesn't. Until you actually open the lid on the device, you don't even know that it's got a wrong hard drive in it.
Well, this one had a Hitachi hard drive in this one here, and it's a HP.
Yeah.
So
Hitachi is a hard drive manufacturer. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
But that's not the real issue here, is it?
Yeah.
It is the fact that our industries were so anxious to make huge amounts of money. They moved into China under the conditions, and the Chinese government made a condition. Yeah, you can build it here, but you have to tell us how you make it.
Yeah.
Right. You have to be a partner with us. And everybody that went there, whether it was Tesla, Volkswagen, or whatever, found their technology being pretty much stolen. And that technology then put right into Chinese products, whether it was electric cars. Look, they have the best spelling electric car in the world right now because they stole the technology from Tesla. You know, Tesla went and built a company over there. Who do you think's stealing their stuff?
Well, in fact, actually,
if you send a chip over there, they're going to reverse engineer it.
Yeah. What they should have done was actually made parts, not, they should have made parts in China, not whole in China.
But then here comes the issue when Americans want something built, they can't find Americans to build it now.
Yeah, I know that's another challenge entirely, right?
Dyson vacuum cleaners, they started in Britain.
Yeah,
Dyson could not compete because they had to now begin to put all the parts. You talk about parts, buy all the parts in China. So all the plastic forming and extrusions and all the other parts and things that are made in China. So you can't build the Dyson in England anymore, or Britain anymore. You have to build it in China if you want to stay competitive. Yeah. And once they see Dyson, they reverse engineer everything they has, and they'll make their own.
Yeah,
and saturate the market, etc.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So moving on, Carney says he's ready to fight an election over the federal budget should it come to it.
Yeah, this is going to be now. When Carney got elected and did not get a full majority, lots of people predicted that within a half year or 18 months, there will be a major election all over again, because the conservatives did very well, despite the fact they didn't win. And Carney did not get a majority.
Yeah.
The NDP have reduced right down to 7 seats. You never hear of Jagmeet Singh anymore. He's off the planet, that kind of thing. The Bloc will not support it. So there's only a handful of, they only need a few more votes, but if the NDP don't support it, or even one Green party supports it, then we're going to go into an election. From the very beginning of the win that Carney got, it was warned that we're in for another major election, either 6 months to 18 months away. This may be it. If they don't support this, then we're going to be plunged into an election. The conservatives might be fairly well prepared for an upcoming election, although they have a leadership review of their own leader, Paul Pepe. There is a leadership review of him. That might
be in January, yeah.
So that's an issue for the conservatives. But in the meantime, do you really want to go to a national election? If the conservatives cause a national election, that might hurt them more than anything. If the NDP do not stand with the government on this budget, they will most likely be completely wiped out of government. They'll be down to 1 seat, because there's probably going to be a major support for the budget by average Canadians.
Yeah.
I think that the average Canadian has a lot more confidence in a guy like Carney than they did on a guy like JT, or a blustery guy like Pierre Poilievre, who seems to have a lot of MAGA talking points.
Yeah, and when you're looking at the polls as they sit right now, and as they've moved since the election, basically Liberals are sitting at 42%, Conservatives sitting at 40%, NDP at 8%, and Bloc at 7%, and Green at 1%. So, the two leading parties are clearly in the lead here.
Yeah, and Carney is ironclad supporting his budget. He says this is what we need at this particular time, at this crossroads in history. I think he will be much more convincing than will be Polyev, who hasn't yet walked away from his MAGA-like talking.
Yeah.
He's got to change his image and become more of a practical man, basically, than he has right now. I believe if we go for an election, the Liberals will get a majority. And I believe that if that happens, you will probably find about one member of the NDP in government, because those people in those areas will realize that if they don't give the Liberals a majority, then you're going to have the Conservatives in power, and that's what they don't want. So,
and one of the things that it has to be said is that if you go across the country, the Atlantic provinces, there's a clear lead by the Liberals overall, 50 odd percent supporting the Liberals, 35% Conservative, and the same kind of results for everybody else. Go to Quebec, it is 40% Liberal, 29% Bloc, and then 23% Conservative, and the same, minimal for everybody else. Ontario is 47% Liberal, 43% Conservative, and NDP, and NDP, PPC, etc., the same, trailing way behind. But when you go out west, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, then the Conservatives are more in the lead, much more in the lead. And it's only, of course, when you get to BC, traveling across the country, that you're getting back to that kind of even 50-50. The Liberals are on 43%, Conservatives 40%, with NDP actually doing better there at 13%.
I believe, though, that because of the incentives that Carney has proposed for Western oil pipelines and port facilities and those sorts of things, the Liberals might even pick up a seat or two out west, because their plans look like they're going to benefit the Western economies fairly well going forward. So it's going to be interesting. I have a feeling that the NDP will cave and support the Liberals, because I don't think they're anywhere close to being prepared for an election. They will have to take months and months to be prepared for an election. If they want to prepare for election now, what Carney will do is you'll call it for a very short period of time, whatever the minimum is, and he'll do a reckoning right there. He'll draw a line in the sand, and he'll say, okay, this is it. This is what I believe in. I'm going to fight for it. And if you want an election, we're going to have an election. We're going to have it 6 weeks from now.
Yeah. I think it's 36 days you can do the minimum.
Okay. He's going to cut it to the quick.
Yeah.
Because right now he's got more momentum than the other parties going. So,
yeah.
What the opposition will end up doing probably is more or less. I think the Conservatives are going to hope that the NDP support them, because I don't think they're prepared for an election either.
Yeah, well, you see, it's tough for anybody right now, and I would think it would hurt most parties to allow the election to happen in the fall. we need to kind of move. I suspect most of them will want to move it to the next year.
Because Carney did not get a majority, there is going to be the risk of an election much earlier than the cycle would permit, a 4-year cycle.
Yeah.
So the idea that we're going to have an election within 18 months of the last election is a reasonable idea.
I suspect that we'll end up with the budget. It'll probably be in a year's time that we'll actually be having a federal election. Maybe. Yeah. It's kind of what I'm thinking. And the last thing, actually, the problem lies is I think any later than about November for an election, nobody wants an election in December, do they?
No, of course not.
Yeah. But we'll see.
I have a feeling that the budget will pass. Because and the NDP will support it, or enough of the NDP will support it, because they will look at potential devastation if there is an election.
Yeah,
and I don't think they want that. I don't think they don't have the money.
Those that are holding on, albeit by a shoestring. How many of them? 7, right? They probably don't want an election, and and more likely to support to continue the liberal government on for a year or two.
And I'll warn the conservatives, they'll end up losing seats to the liberals too if this election happens, because right now Carney has the momentum. He's out there. You've got that Goliath guy down right below us. He's very temperamental. He's yelling and screaming all the time, screaming tariffs and all that. And you got this composed guy by the name of Carney trying to deal with him. And with that going on, plus massive amounts of interprovincial incentives and actively going around trying to diversify the trade avenues that Canada has, he's looking pretty good. I don't know how effective it is. As an economist, I don't know. But what you have is an economist who ran the Bank of England, who ran the Bank of Canada, and as a capitalist made huge amounts of money. Are you going to put PP in there? You understand none of that.
And that's what I think. You've got this question over Pierre Poilievre, what he's done versus what is going on with the rest of So Carney's clearly a lot of people would believe that Carney's a lot better at economics than is Poilievre.
Yeah, he has a better understanding of it too. So when he says, with his sort of his acumen, basically saying, well, this is the only the only way forward, the best way forward. And I, as a former governor of the Bank of England, I, as a former governor of the Bank of Canada, and I, as a highly successful capitalist who knows markets, that's what I say. And you got PP just wishing that Justin Trudeau was back in that office so he could start haranguing him. But he cannot harangue Carney.
Yeah, not in the same way, no.
No.
Yeah. And in fact, what is Poilievre saying right now? Because in fact, actually, Poilievre seems to be a bit quiet. Haven't heard from him in weeks.
Well, he's got some leadership problems himself. He's got stewing in his own party.
Yeah.
And he really hasn't hit the ground running yet because he doesn't know how to face off against Carney.
I believe that Poilievre will succeed in his review. in January. I don't see why he won't. And
Yeah.
people I've been talking to inside the Conservative Party say that's a formality rather than being a problem in his path.
What the
leadership review in January?
Yeah, it could be. It could be because they really don't have anyone else right now, do they?
No.
But he's got to change his tack. He cannot be the MAGA guy or be seen to be as the MAGA guy. Basically, MAGA Canada, MAGA Light. They used to call him MAGA Light, basically. But
he's got to fight on policy.
That's right. He's got to match. He's got to match the intellect of Carney, which he hasn't done right yet.
Yeah.
And so basically, I believe that it will pass because I don't think it's in the interest of any of the parties. I think the Bloc and the Conservative parties are crossing their fingers like crazy, hoping that the NDP will support it. They cannot support it themselves because they have to play politics. But if the NDP back up, then otherwise we go into an election, and I think the Liberals will just destroy the Conservatives and eat up some of their support because of the incentives that Carney has brought to the table. Remember, he's brought in conservative talking points.
Yeah.
He's the one that killed the carbon tax, knew that it was dumb, so he got rid of it. Talking about pipelines. You wouldn't find the Liberals of old talk about pipelines. They'd be very hedging about pipelines. They would maybe go ahead with it, but they would go very slow and undelivered. Talking about opening up mines and broadening port facilities, all those things that the Liberals of generation or just even 5-10 years ago would not talk about because of environment and climate and all that. Well, that's pretty much gone by the wayside. And Carney is making practical moves, which appear to be practical moves. And I don't think the Conservatives could hold a candle to him in an election. We'd find out. But do we really want to do the expense of an election?
Yeah, and that actually quite right now is that I think the questions that we're facing right now is, we've got too many other things like what's going on down south, getting some form of, dealing with international trade seems to be way more important than us holding an election here.
And things have changed rather quickly technologically too. When who more would understand the effects of AI that's going to happen right now when NVIDIA becomes the first company in the world to be worth $5 trillion, when NVIDIA, the company, has twice the amount of money that Canada does. I mean, the revenue stream of Canada, like NVIDIA, has twice that. NVIDIA has more wealth than all of the African countries put together. And that will give you an idea of what's going to happen very soon. And so who is placed better to understand what the AI revolution is going to do to Canada? Is it going to be Polyev or somebody savvy, market savvy like Carney? That's another thing I think people will think of. But mostly what they think of is their pocketbook and the stress and fear of losing their jobs. And that, I think, will probably play better for Carney than the Conservatives. But in any case, I don't think it'll come to that. I think the number of the NDP will vote for it. Otherwise, they fear they could be completely wiped off the map.
Yeah, yeah. Well, NDP is in an awkward situation right now. I see a resurgence, but they need new leadership in order to get a resurgence.
And they need time.
And that isn't about to happen.
They need time, and they don't have it. If they have an election soon, they will be wholly unprepared because they have no money.
Yeah.
Right. And they only they have seven members in the parliament.
Oh yeah. And so exactly.
Yeah.
And I suspect that probably what's going to end up happening is that the is that it's going to be harder fought between the Conservatives and Liberals if we go to the polls again.
Yeah. So I believe that it was unwise for the NDP not to support this budget. Very unwise. As I said, because when voters go, if they do push it, voters are going to say it's like they're going to have the idea would be the Liberal candidates of the NDP, where the NDP isn't one, will say, look, if you vote for NDP, you're voting for the Conservatives, basically, because you're taking power away from us. So vote for Liberals and give us the mandate we need. And that might have an effect. So I believe that enough of the NDP will support the budget. Otherwise, they fear complete annihilation at the ballot box next time around.
Yeah.
Anyway,
annihilation could happen, that's for sure, for the NDP.
Yeah. So, in any case, I guess we're all done here. I haven't talked about Gaza yet. I don't think that peace deal is working out very well at all. J.D. Vance was sent over there to kind of tell Netanyahu what to do, but what Netanyahu did instead was say that he would annex the West Bank, and J.D. Vance had to make excuses for it, saying, it was purely religious, purely symbolic, and all that other stuff. But Netanyahu completely believes that annexing the West Bank is the next thing to do. But what are they going to do with all the Arabs there? What are they going to do with the Palestinians? What they want to do is make life so difficult for them that they have to go somewhere else. And that's what they're doing in Gaza right now, trying to make it a miserable place to live. And that's what they're doing even more effectively in the West Bank, because every time a Palestinian sort of makes a bit of an advance, the settlers make sure that they can't make anything more of it. They wiped out another Christian Palestinian village, took it over. The world will say nothing. The types like Charlie Kirk never did say anything in support of Palestinian Christians. So it doesn't look good. And anyway, I hope peace comes soon.
Yeah.
Without further ado,